Well, today's job, what I did was there was this stone patio and I repointed the cement joints. So I'm going to show you how I did it. Today, I'm doing an inside patio and I'm repointing it. And as you can see, all the joints fell apart. You see them? They all fell apart. And I'm over here now and I'm fixing the joints. So I'm going to show you the way I approach it. Here we go. Now this is an old patio, and you can even see it's been out in the weather, and then they came and they built a shelter over it, and they want me to patch this up. First thing I do is I get a wire brush. I wire brush these things out just like that. See that? Cleans them out. Anything that's loose will come out. That's what I'm doing first. Go through these whole things, get everything that's loose up. And then, after I get it all up, get my broom, and I sweep up all the big stuff that I can out of the way. Just like that. Then you get your shop vac and get it all up. Now here's what I'm using. Portland cement. Here's my recipe. I take one can like that, and a half a can. See that? 1 1/2 to 1 part Portland. Like that. To 1 part Portland, and I mix it up. So that's 1 1/2 to 1. And I just mix it up like that. Mix it up dry first. I just add water with the sponge and water. See that? Mix it up. No big deal. Real simple. Sometimes, especially a place like this, I get a little Portland cement, a little water in there, see it? And I mix it into a paint. That's my bonding agent, just Portland and water. You don't need any other fancy stuff, just this. This is what I use, works for me all the time. So we're looking at these spots right here. Now I just got water, see the water, and a paintbrush. What I'm gonna do with that water and paintbrush is paint that joint first. You don't really need bonding agents because it's very rich, that cement, but it all depends on how bad the joint is. See, this is solid. That's all solid. There's nothing loose down there. I got it out with the vacuum. Oh, look what I did. If you want, you could take that little bit of Portland mixed, depending on the joint. Just paint it like that. That's your bonding agent. The reason I'm not using the sprayer is I don't want to make a mess. Then you get your cement right on top of that bonding agent. See that? My old school bonding agent works great. Never have a problem. Never have a callback. You don't want that cement too dry. You want it to get it down there in the joint. Just like that. No big deal. That's going to make that stick. Now for a smaller joint, I use something like that. I push it down in there. See it? Get it down in there. Make sure it gets as deep as you can. That's all we're doing. Recap again. This is all hard. How come you don't take all the joints out, Mike? Well, let's look at it this way. Let's say you go to a dentist. The dentist looks at your tooth. He don't rip the whole tooth out. He just gets the bad part. Same thing with masonry work. Now this is, I know this is good enough because this is so rich. It's almost like a paint in itself. See it? And it just gets right down in there. Fills all those voids in. So I'm not worried about that at all. Right in there. See that? push it in. You're good. And continue on. So I've been doing it so that I can get around here a little bit and keep working my way this way, but let's see what's going on here. All right, see that? It's getting hard. About 20 minutes later, it all depends on what you're doing. It's getting hard. So now I'm gonna sponge it. See that? I'm gonna get all the big stuff off here. All the stuff that's laying around like this. Just sweep it off here so you don't have all that dirt in your cement. So now we just get some plain ordinary water and a sponge which I stole from my cousin's car seat. I never buy them. And just go over it a little bit. See that? You don't have to make a big deal out of it. Clean the stone around it. Use your finger. Fill it in. See that? All the holes. Real simple. Go around the edges. Make sure your sponge is real clean. Keep cleaning it out as you're going. Fill all those joints in. Keep rinsing your sponge out. That's a secret. Keep rinsing that sponge out. Just like that. See? Just go along the edges, get the excess. Then run your sponge over the top. Keep rinsing your sponge out. And you'll do it. No big deal. So I'm working on it. I almost got the whole thing done, but I got to bring the saw back to cut that, and I'll finish that next week. Now this is the only stone right here, hear it? That's loose in the whole shebang. So I got to either do two things. I got to cut this and make the cut mark right there. I gotta see if I can get it out, sneak it out of here. And I can't. Let me see if I can get this out of here. I'm gonna explain all these joints to you again later on. See if that helped. Now you move with a big stone, you do leverage on the side. And I'm walking it out slowly, see? That's how you do. That's how they moved them big stones too, don't think they didn't. Very simple. I keep moving it out until I get it out. It's coming. That's it. I got the stone out. Now, clean this all up. This is pretty easy to get out, I guess you could say. So I don't have to use a grinder or anything. Just get it down. Here's that mark I made. I gotta cut that stone. So we cut it, we cleaned it up. I'm gonna lay it in here dry. I wanna make sure it fits. Look at that, perfect. So now I gotta just cement it. So the first thing you do, you wet it first. If you want something to stick, like this, in this case, you gotta wet it first. And then, what you want to do is you want to pack that void up under there. So you pack this in here first. Make sure you pack that good because that's a void. You don't want no voids under the, especially under the door. So that's packed pretty good. Now, what we're going to do, some water. I'm going to take some water, a lot of water in here, just like that. Put this cement right on top, just like that. See that? So when you get that all in there, looking good, like that. No high spots. The sponge and you wet the bottom of the stone and just drop it in. Like that. That's looking good. Just like that. So then you just fill it right in. I always fill my stone in at the same time and you don't have a problem. This is Pennsylvania. I understand different places are different. Then we just sponge it off. That's it. No big deal. Now, how do you know a stone is loose? Well, go around and tap it. That's solid, 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 solid. See, a little different sound. If you hear that's a little bit loose, but it's not wobbly. So as long as it ain't wobbly, don't waste the people's money. Now I want to make a point about doing sidewalks outside. This is the same house I'm fixing the inside sidewalks in. Me and my dad and another guy, 25 to 30 years ago, put this sidewalk in. 2 sand, 1 Portland. No S-mortar. S-mortar don't work in Pennsylvania, at least not for us. So I'm just going to show you the sidewalk. There's not one joint out of space. The joints have to go in the same time as the stone. Joints in the bottom go in at the same time. So here's the sidewalk I'm walking up to. 2 sand, 1 Portland. Joints go in the same time as the stone. You'll never have a problem. We're going to do one more little trick here. We're going to dig up some mud right there. Mud. Right there. We're going to make a little mud. We're going to stir it into mud. That's just mud, right? And I just patched up this little thing yesterday. I'm just going to paint some mud on it. Mike, why are you painting mud on it? That's going to stain that enough to make it look like the rest of the thing that's dark already. I'm going to talk about that job a little bit. What I did was I went over there and I gave those people a little sample over in the far corner where nobody could see it. I said, look at this, and if you want me to do it, call me in a week. They called me back and said, yeah, I want you to do it. Now that patio, the way I figure it, has been there since the 1950s, maybe the 1960s, and it sat outside, and then maybe 30 years ago they put a whole roof over it and the windows and they made it a sun porch. But when they did it, you could see that some joints were big and other joints were small. That's why I tell you, you have to lay everything out dry before you do it. When they were building them big cathedrals and everything was laid out perfect. So you got to lay it out dry. You can't be depending on rulers. A lot of people make mistakes. When you go do a job like that, you got to be like a dentist. When you go into a dentist office, he just don't rip the whole tooth out. He goes and he takes out the bad spot. He puts in the good spot. I use Portland cement, no mortar or S-mortar. It doesn't work outside on the ground flat here. My old school bonding agent, I'd probably use that if I was working outside, but inside, that's a real strong mix, 1.5 to 1. It's almost like a paint itself. Sponges. When people are throwing out an old couch or something, go get yourself the sponges from there. They're the best sponges in the world. When you're doing that, it's going to get hard. You kind of got to feel it. And if you never did it before, go practice on a little spot you never practiced. Just do a few inches on each spot, sponge it. You got to rinse the sponge out good before you do it. You don't want to make a big mess. You got to practice a little bit. Loose stones. Every stone is loose basically, because what happens is the sun hits them and the stones expand faster than the cement. So you're always going to get a real small hair crack around it. As long as that stone ain't wobbly, I let them be right where they are. When you put in sidewalks outside like that, or patios, stone patios, in Pennsylvania we put the joints in exactly as the same time as we're doing the rest of it. Everything one shot. That way everything's married together and it don't fall off. Because if you put the joints in after you put all the stone in, the next day or something, you got a separation there, the water gets in there and lifts them up. The mud trick. I've been starting to show that a lot. When you want to disguise some masonry, and you'll see sometimes where someone did some masonry and there's a big white spot where they patched it up, just mix yourself up some mud and paint the mud in there, and that'll stain that cement. Like Michelangelo used to paint into the plaster in the Sistine Chapel. It stains right into the plaster. So it's the same thing. Sometimes you do it when it's wet, sometimes you do it when it's dry. So practice. So I hope these videos help. That's the way I do it. A lot of people in a lot of areas do it a different way. There's no right or wrong way to do masonry. Whatever works in your area. So always ask the local guys. Thanks for watching my videos. I consider them food for thought. And until next time.